Moving on, main event.
Tough night.
We alluded to it earlier, but I thought Gary won by. I think I had him winning by a round. But it's one of those fights where if you tell me it was a draw, I have no issue with that. You tell me Magsayo wins close, I also have no issue with that.
After I watched it back, I had it closer than I thought before.
Yeah.
I think last night I had it 8-4, and today I had it 7-5. Yeah. And there were a number of swing rounds.
I think I had 2 rounds. I think it was the second, and I can't think of the other one where I was like, I could kind of go either way with this, but yeah.
I still had it 7-5 for Gary.
Was we giving him too much credit just because he had one arm? And we were just so impressed by him?
I felt like that last night. I felt like that could have been the case. Also, very, at least me personally, I'm going to speak for myself. I was very critical of what Mark was not doing. So because he wasn't doing those things, I'm like, you ain't doing that.
We wouldn't give you credit for what you was doing.
Yeah. So when I watched it back today, I was like, all right, I saw more from Mark this morning opposed to last night.
Yeah, you know how I feel about activity winning you fights. It just, I understand he landed more. I understand he was clearly the more active fighter, and Gary kind of alluded to it after the fight where he said, I could hit him anytime I wanted to.
Yeah.
And he did. Yeah. Like his left hand, I don't know what the numbers were as far as his accuracy, but he was putting up serious numbers.
I think our special guest last night started influencing us.
But what bothered me when I watched it back was the fact that Showtime didn't acknowledge a lot of what Gary landed through the course of the night.
I think Abner did a pretty decent job of saying like, well, he made him miss a lot there because there were definitely these times where Magsayo would kind of get him in the corner and he'd throw a few shots, but he didn't land any of them. And if he did land one, it kind of grazed off Gary's glove, and it was like, okay, like does that win you around? Like, I don't know. It's a close fight though, and it was a fun fight in my opinion.
WBC happy? They can actually work their belt.
I saw people with that sentiment, and I'm not sure I wouldn't say I don't appreciate it, but I don't know. I felt like people were quick to want to get that belt off Gary, where they're just like, finally you lost. Now we can see him fight 5 times a year, and
nobody wants to see belts get held up. It's kind of like when Keith Thurman just held the belt. What belt?
And that's fair.
He had the WBC
and the WBA.
And the WBA.
And he was just holding them until they had to.
When I saw him.
Go ahead.
That's what the conversation
was
about.
That's what it's about?
Yeah.
Stop holding the belts.
Yeah. Come up off the belt. Yeah. What did you, because we all watched it live together, What did you think of the fight overall?
I mean, we touched on it earlier. I did think Magsayo won. I think the fight got away from Gary as the fight went on in the second half. The best punch of the fight was the straight left hand of Gary Russell. But they came fewer and far between later in the fight. It's been those championship rounds. And Magsayo, he kept landing his right hand to the body well. That was one shot. It's funny because Gary didn't jab the last 9 rounds, but Gary was able to take away his jab as well for a lot of the fight. But when the few times he did use it, he would throw a nice jab up top and then land like this right uppercut to the body. He threw it he landed it to the chest a few times. I thought that was a good, consistent shot that he had going for him. And just was able to be more before the fight. We talked about, I said, sometimes just that energy and enthusiasm of the younger fighter when a champion's in Gary's part, starting to go on the downside. And I did think I thought Gary did look his age last night. And of course, limited to one arm is a big deal. When he won that title, he knocked out Johnny Gonzalez with a beautiful right hook. Gary has a great right hook he can come back with.
You mentioned that yesterday, that one of his big punches is his right hand.
Is the right hook. And he's great at, right after shooting that straight left hand that he kept landing, he's great at bringing it right back on that angle that fighters love to do. And it's a beautiful shot when he throws it. So I was impressed with Mark Magsayo matching his hand speed, although I wonder if at 34 that blazing hand speed isn't quite as blazing as we were used to it. And it's not going to look as blazing when you can't open up with both hands. Yeah. You can't really let the combinations go.
Yeah, one of y'all asked Mark about the hand speed. I was like, you don't get any hand speed when you're working with one hand.
But you got to admit, the kid was explosive.
The whole interview, if you can't tell.
I feel.
But Magsayo's explosiveness was impressive. He ain't slow.
I feel maybe not cheated by, but like if he didn't get hurt, even if Mark had won, we could have said, what a hell of a performance. You beat Gary Russell, longest reigning champion. But it's tough to say that because, like you said, there's these things where it's like, you did this, you did that, but he only had one arm. Yeah. You did this, you did that, but he couldn't jab. So was it really that impressive?
What's up? I'm Showtime Shawn Porter.
I'm Ant. Follow me on IG, Ant with 2 T's. Let's do it. Let's do it again.
All right. Just introduce yourself.
Okay.
And then tell them, and then you tell them what to do. I'm Showtime Shawn Porter.
I'm Anthony Brenagh.
Carson A. Merk. Like, subscribe, comment.
This is the Porter Way.